Ooh, we know who that is. Reki Kawahara, get out of here. We don't want what you're selling. We don't have 5 seasons for you to realize we don't need to diddle everyone. Okay, he looks pretty cool, I ain't gonna lie. So today we're going to be breaking down To Be Hero X episode 10. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, show your support, consider subscribing if you're new around here, and of course we do have those full uncut live reactions over on my Patreon exclusively if you're so interested. So let's jump into this. So this week's episode concludes the Lucky Cyan arc, and to be honest, it kind of reshapes what we've known about this show, because everyone and their mother since the end of the previous arc has pretty much said, well, we now know what to expect. By the end of every arc, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be a gut punch. Someone's getting shot in the head. Someone's dying. Someone's getting screwed over, right? Like, it's not gonna be good. And to be honest, she kind of ended okay. Now, granted, this isn't the end of the story. There's plenty of time to hurt her. But now we know that each of these characters that we follow, and we're following Queen next, I believe, when their arc is all said and done, we now know it's not guaranteed they're gonna die, or someone close to them's gonna die. In fact, I thought at best we would have Luo, realize the truth and they'd be able to part ways, but he survived. Like, he straight up is no longer corrupted. That is the most positive end we've seen now out of 3 arcs, which you might want to say, well, it's only 3 arcs. It hasn't been that long, but it's been 10 episodes. They've really got us to understand the type of devastation and despair that can happen. So the idea that she actually ended fairly okay, and it actually confirms a theory that I've only seen one person mention, and I think I mentioned it in last week's video, but in my first video that I did for her arc, someone said, I almost wonder if the way she got her ability was because everyone put their faith and trust in a child surviving. I thought that made a lot of sense, because at the end of the day, she was the only kid on, or for whatever reason, they just all put their trust on a singular kid. Given how this world operates, it's entirely possible that's how kind of her luck blossomed and her kind of like her everything started out. But there was definitely some questions, like the fact that, the song that she recognized that Luo was singing during the first episode of their arc, it's like, hey, like, I recognize that, where he's like, well, I just kind of got the idea. Now we have answers to that too. The idea that his parents started singing that song. And that song was obviously sang to him when he was young. Obviously, he was too young to exactly remember where it came from, but, a 1 or 2 year old, it kind of gets buried deep in their mind. The idea that they both understood that song because it was both sung to them, but it's not because, like, she killed the parent. The fact that we have the audio recording to calm all of it down, it's pretty tragic when you think of it, because the fact that the only reason she's okay in this world is because now they know, like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess she's a survivor because people wanted her to survive. That's okay. She could have just existed. The audio could have been, oh my god, we're all scared. And they would be like, oh, she's responsible. No, like, she's a child. This world sucks ass. And I'm going to continue to highlight the fact that this world sucks. I'll admit, wasn't expecting The Boys to turn into a zombie series briefly, but I kind of vibe with that. But either way, it's so interesting because there's so many little moments that all combine to make what I think the best arc to date to be. In terms of popularity polls, I don't think she's actually that highly ranked, and given what we know about Season 2, the rankings of characters will influence how Season 2 goes, which is interesting. It's really cool given how this show actually operates in universe, so out of universe, it's going to be cool to see what they do. But the idea that, like, there's something so cool about her ability. It's not the first time we've seen the concept of luck be used, but it's such an underutilized idea for an ability, and I think just seeing her upbringing and the idea that, she was originally placed in this orphanage in order to, hopefully stay out of the spotlight, just have a quiet, normal life, and then it became this almost cult-like dynamic. But when you really look at the fact that when she was escaping, the director, the owner of this orphanage, right, he easily could have caught her, but he kind of just let it happen. I do think he was blinded by good intentions, and it wasn't until things really started getting toxic that he started being like, no, you can't leave, or I'm gonna attack and stuff like that. But either way, they even touch upon the fact that, wherever she goes, if she, to get the good luck causes misfortune to those she leaves behind. And I still believe that's happening. I don't believe that was a complete and utter lie. I mean, there's obviously people who will comment, be like, no, that's not how the system works in this show, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. If you take everything you hear at face value in an anime, You'll never speculate, you'll never theory craft, and you'll never be able to potentially read between the lines. And even if you get it wrong, it's not a big deal because that's part of the fun of watching something weekly. I mean, there are some people who just want to absorb shows at face value and never think beyond what they say. And I guess maybe that's why certain plot twists hit them, because they never see it coming. That's not how watching shows is fun to me. I like the theory craft. And to me, that's what I was saying last week, that it felt like now that she's no longer there, it's almost like all that good luck, fortune, that magnet, those going, it just felt like she was causing misfortune. And we don't have a specific answer. They definitely touch upon it in this episode. But because everyone is kind of loving her again, we're not going to know for sure until it's, later down the line. I mean, they tried to establish at the start of this arc that Lua was, extra misfortune, and blah, blah, blah. And very much because of the director kind of like whispering in his ear, she's the lone survivor of your parents' plane crash, that definitely manifested extra misfortune. But the fact that he was the one person who held on the longest, everyone else turned into bubbling boil monstrosities of zombies. And by the end of this arc, he was actually the one who mostly stayed sane, even though he was filled with so much anger. And it's really cool. But this is good because I've seen some people at the end of the last arc say that everyone's just gonna die at the end of these arcs. It's very predictable. Like, that was a criticism I was seeing popping up more. And while it didn't affect me, I love some good torture porn. I ain't gonna lie. Like, if you're constantly killing these characters, I'm gonna enjoy it. I just like that stuff. But at the end of the day, I can also admit it starts to lose its edge the more you do it. And if this was a one court, it wouldn't matter. You could kill every damn character in an arc. It'd be fine. But for 1 to 2 seasons, yeah, you can't really do that. So the idea that now we know for sure, we don't know how arcs will go. Now, granted, Queen could get her head blown off in the next arc for all I know. I doubt it, because I think they realize she's going to be a fan favorite even before they made the show. But you get my point. Now we don't know who makes it out. Like, you could argue, well, isn't it still a bad arc because, a lot of people... But no, like, the orphanage doesn't matter in the grand picture because the reason why the first 2 arcs hurt, Moon got annihilated. Moon hurts. It doesn't matter if innocent civilians die in that arc. If Moon would have survived, it's overall a positive end, all things considered. You look at the end of last arc with the Esol stuff. His friend got annihilated, bro. Like, just the reveal and the fact that he wasn't quick enough and everything because he hesitated. That's what makes those arcs devastating. So while, yes, the orphanage seemingly got done dirty, but I assume a lot of them probably were okay given that, she kind of didn't do killing blows and stuff. But still, even if you say that whole orphanage died, Luo survived, and that's the thing that would have made it or broke it for being a negative ending. So all things considered, I think this reshapes what we thought we knew about this, and now we don't know how arcs are going to end going forward, and that's really good for the long-term potential of this series. You let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. What do you think? I personally think this was the best arc, but I've seen many people say it isn't, so you let me know what you're feeling down below. Drop a like, subscribe, consider going over to my Patreon, support my work even further to see those live reactions, and hey, I do give a personal video shout out to all my patrons if you're so interested. So today we got Corey M, Andreas Praz, Late Night Riddance, Alex, Corey Sama Fan, Powov, Zexabees, Frank the Bank, and we also have Zeno the Fur Weeb. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Y'all have a good one.